Hey everyone, and welcome. I want you to consider something pretty profound right now. You are living inside a timeline, but here's the kicker, it's not the only one available to you. Not even close. Right now, all around you, there are infinite versions of reality, just vibrating, just out of sight, almost out of reach, all of them waiting for a chance to be collapsed into your experience. And yet, so many of us find ourselves locked inside a single loop, right? Living out the same old patterns, getting the same results, feeling the same frustrations, and constantly wondering why nothing ever changes, even when we desperately want more. So, let's just shatter a myth right here, right now. You are not stuck because of some predetermined fate, or destiny, or just a string of bad luck. No. If you feel stuck, it's because your entire system, your mind, your body, your emotions, your very frequency, is still fundamentally attuned to that old timeline. And you can't break free just by wishing for it. You can't escape by trying to force it, and you certainly can't trick the quantum field by just pretending you're somewhere else. A true quantum shift, the kind that really changes your life, isn't about trying to manifest harder. It's about stepping into a brand new state of being so completely, so coherently, that the quantum field literally has no choice but to mirror back a different reality to you. Let me break this down a bit because most people think manifestation is all about desire, wanting something so badly that eventually, the universe just hands it over. But here's the truth that not many people talk about: in the quantum realm, desire alone? It does absolutely nothing. The field doesn't respond to how badly you want change, it responds to how aligned you are with the frequency of that change. This means that right now, even if you're saying all the right affirmations, making all the vision boards, doing all the visualizations, you might still be subconsciously signaling that old, familiar timeline. Why? Because under the surface, your body is probably wired for what's familiar. Your nervous system might even be a little addicted to those old emotional loops. Your subconscious could be broadcasting patterns of fear, doubt, and scarcity, even while your conscious mind is up there shouting, "I want abundance. I want love. I want success." And here's the part that can be a bit shocking: the quantum field listens to the dominant signal, not necessarily the loudest one. Just let that sink in for a moment. The dominant signal comes from your full system vibration, not just what you think, but what you truly feel, what you deeply expect, what you actually embody. That's why you can say, "I am wealthy," 1,000 times, but if your body physically contracts with anxiety every single time you pay a bill, guess what? The field picks up on that contraction, not the affirmation. That's why you can visualize love all day long, but if your heart is still armored and closed off, the field registers isolation, not connection. This is the very trap that keeps people spinning their wheels in the old timeline. They believe that change starts on the outside, with circumstances, with actions, with results. But a quantum shift? That begins on the inside, with your state of being, with your coherence, with your alignment. You absolutely must become the version of you that already inhabits your desired timeline. Not someday, not when the evidence finally arrives, but right here, right now. And this is where it gets really wild. Quantum physics actually teaches us that all possibilities exist simultaneously in this vast field of potential. Every timeline, every conceivable version of you, every outcome you could ever possibly imagine, they are all already vibrating in the quantum. So, when you shift your vibration, you're not actually creating something from absolute nothing. You're essentially collapsing into the version of reality that was waiting there for you all along. This is why mystics, inventors, and great thinkers throughout history have talked so much about the power of frequency, numbers, and even codes. Nikola Tesla famously said, "If you only knew the magnificence of 3, 6, and 9, then you would have a key to the universe." Now, these numbers aren't some kind of magic trick, they point to universal patterns, to harmonics, and to the deep underlying truth that reality fundamentally organizes itself around vibration. So, the question really isn't, how do I get what I want? The real, more powerful question is, who do I need to become vibrationally to align with the timeline where that thing I want already exists? And becoming isn't about pretending. It's not faking it till you make it. It's not performing for an audience. Becoming is a full body, full soul shift into coherence. This, right here, is the true beginning of your quantum shift. You are not here to fight against the old timeline, you are here to rise into the frequency of the new one. But before we can go any deeper into exactly how to do that, I really want you to pause for a moment and reflect on this. What version of you has been making your choices today? Which timeline have you been feeding with your focus, your attention, your precious energy? And, more importantly, are you truly ready to let that version go so that a new one can finally emerge? Just sit with those questions. Breathe into them. Feel the edges they might be pressing against inside you. Because, you see, in our next segment, we're going to dive into those invisible forces that can keep you locked in that old loop, the resistance, the subconscious patterns, the emotional imprints, and how they can hijack your attempts to shift. This is the layer that nobody really warns you about, the part that explains why so many people know the theory of quantum manifestation but never actually experience the transformation. Are you ready to uncover it? Alright, so let's talk about the real reason why people often don't shift, why they stay stuck. And it's not because they're lazy, it's not because they don't want change badly enough, and it's definitely not because they're somehow doing manifestation wrong. It's because they're still entangled with the version of themselves that's wired to survive in the old timeline. And that version, while it might be outdated, is incredibly familiar. And the subconscious mind? It absolutely loves what's familiar, often more than it loves progress. That old timeline doesn't need your permission to keep playing out, it just needs your participation. Every time you react in the same old way, tell the same old story, expect the same old outcome, that signal gets reinforced. It's like a well-worn neural pathway in your brain, the more you walk it, the deeper that groove gets, and pretty soon, that path becomes automatic. You're not even consciously choosing your timeline anymore, it's choosing you. Now, here's where quantum physics and neuroscience intersect in a way that most people completely overlook. In quantum mechanics, the observer effect tells us that the mere act of observation collapses a wave of infinite potential into a single event, a particle, a choice, a reality. But here's the twist, you're not just observing reality with your eyes, you're observing it with your beliefs, your emotions, your deepest expectations. Now, let's add neuroscience to the mix. Something like 95% of your behavior is driven by your subconscious mind, which is where all your emotional conditioning, your past traumas, your core beliefs, and your identity patterns are stored. This means that most of the time, it's not your conscious intention that's collapsing that wave of potential, it's your subconscious programming. Just let that land for a second. You might be trying to manifest from that 5% of you that's awake and aware, while the other 95% of you is still tuned into frequencies of fear, lack, distrust, and survival mode. And the quantum field? It always responds to the dominant signal. So, when people say, manifestation doesn't work, what they're really saying is, I haven't yet shifted the internal observer that's collapsing my reality. This is why people loop. This is why you can change your job, change your partner, even change your city, and still find yourself stuck in the exact same emotional patterns. Because nothing external has the power to override an internal frequency that hasn't fundamentally been changed. Let me put it another way, the timeline can't shift if the observer hasn't shifted. So, what's anchoring you in that old timeline? Usually, it boils down to resistance. And resistance is sneaky, man. It shows up as overthinking, as procrastination, as emotional numbness, sometimes even as hyperproductivity. It can disguise itself as fear dressed up as logic, that little voice that says, "Oh, just be realistic." But resistance, at its core, always boils down to one thing: your system believes it's safer to stay where you are, even if you hate it there, than to leap into the unknown. And that belief? It lives in your body. Stored trauma, emotional suppression, inherited fears, they're all coded right into your nervous system. That's why you can know something intellectually but still not be able to actually live it. That's why affirmations can fall flat, why visualizations can fade, why you keep falling back into the same old cycles. The resistance isn't just in your mindset, it's in your chemistry. When your nervous system is dysregulated, it sends out a signal of threat to the field, even when your mouth is saying, "I'm ready for change." That energetic contradiction keeps collapsing the same limited outcomes. It's not personal, it's just physics. Nikola Tesla once said, "If you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." This wasn't some metaphorical statement, it was literal. Your life is a frequency. Your thoughts, your emotions, your posture, even your breath, they all create a vibrational pattern that either aligns with your desired timeline or actively repels it. This is why many people feel instinctively drawn to things like numbers, 369, 777, or sacred geometry. They intuitively sense that the universe speaks in patterns, that frequencies are not random, they're encoded into the very fabric of reality. You are not just a person navigating a life, you are a frequency generator embedded in a responsive field. And if you've been broadcasting the same old pattern for so long, you might have even mistaken it for who you actually are. But here's the good news: you don't have to fight that pattern. You just have to stop feeding it. So, let me ask you, where are you still vibrating in fear while declaring you have faith? Where are you still bracing for rejection while actively seeking love? Where are you still trying to attract abundance while feeling deep down that you're unworthy of it? These are those subtle, internal contradictions that keep timelines from shifting. As we move into the next part of this journey, we're going to explore what it actually takes to shift timelines, not just in theory, but in felt, embodied practice. You'll learn how to align your conscious and subconscious minds, how to regulate your body into a state of coherence, and how to start showing up as the version of you that already lives inside that new reality. But before we move forward, I want to invite you into something real. If you've been feeling like something's clicking into place for you, if part of you is waking up to your own power, then go ahead and subscribe. Stay with this space, grow with us. And in the comments below, drop a word, just a single word, that represents the loop you're ready to break. Maybe it's fear, maybe it's scarcity, maybe it's silence. Whatever it is, call it out. Not for me, but for you. Because naming the loop is the very first act of dissolving it. Okay, now we reach the part that, honestly, most people never quite get to. Not because it's hidden or super complex, but often because it's so simple they overlook it. Shifting timelines isn't about forcing the quantum field to obey your every command. It's about aligning so completely with the version of you who already lives the reality you desire that the old timeline simply can no longer hold you. Let's break this down. Think of the quantum field like this vast, endless ocean of possibility. Every timeline, every version of you, every conceivable outcome, they all already exist in that ocean as a distinct wave. When you focus, when you observe, when you align, you effectively collapse a particular wave into form. But here's the absolute key: you don't collapse that wave by just wanting it. You collapse it by matching its frequency. And matching isn't just a mental exercise, it's emotional, it's physical, it's vibrational. It's how your entire system hums when you're in a state of coherence. So, why do people struggle so much to match that new timeline? Because they're trying to get there by thinking about it. They intellectualize the shift. I know abundance is available. I know love is possible. I know I can heal. But just knowing isn't enough. Your body needs to know. Your emotions need to know. Your breath, your posture, your habits, your very identity, they all need to signal, I am now the version of me who belongs in this new timeline. This is where embodiment truly comes into play. Embodiment isn't just some trendy buzzword, it's the missing link. It's the active practice of inhabiting the frequency you want before the external world gives you permission or proof. Let me give you a concrete example. If you're shifting into an abundance timeline, embodiment might mean spending money with a sense of trust instead of panic. It might mean breathing deeply into your body when that fear of not enough rises up, instead of collapsing into anxiety. It might mean showing up to new opportunities with an energy of openness instead of bracing for disappointment. If you're shifting into a love timeline, embodiment might mean consciously softening your heart when your instinct is to shut down. It might mean taking emotional risks, even small ones. It might mean practicing vulnerability, even when your old wounds are screaming at you to hide. If you're shifting into a health timeline, embodiment might mean treating your body as though it's already healing, already regenerating. It might mean feeding it with respect, moving it with gratitude, resting it with genuine love. Do you see the pattern here? You don't wait for the timeline to shift before you start living differently. You start living differently, and then the timeline shifts to match you. This is why so many manifestation efforts ultimately fail, they're conditional. I'll feel grateful when I get the job. I'll relax when I find the relationship. I'll feel abundant when the money finally arrives. But the quantum field doesn't work that way. The field isn't testing you or punishing you, it's simply reflecting you. And that reflection happens instantaneously, not after some arbitrary delay. This is where we circle back to the wisdom of Tesla, the 369, those universal patterns encoded in reality. These aren't superstitions, they're reminders. They point us back to the fundamental truth that life organizes itself around energy, not just effort. So, the real work, the deep work, becomes, can you become coherent? Can you bring your mind, your heart, your body, and your actions into genuine alignment, even when nothing in your external world has changed yet? Can you hold that new signal long enough for the desired wave to collapse? Because here's a paradox that no one really talks about, the timeline doesn't shift when you finally get tired of waiting. The timeline shifts when waiting is no longer part of your dominant frequency. Pause for a moment. Breathe that in. This is the quantum code. The version of you who has what you desire isn't lost somewhere in the future. They're vibrating right now on a frequency you can access today. The only question is, will you choose to tune to it? Before we move forward, just reflect on this for a second. What would your day look like if you acted, breathed, and moved as the version of you who's already living in your desired timeline? What small choices would actually change? What emotional habits would begin to shift? What conversations would end, or perhaps, what new ones would begin? This isn't about grand, sweeping gestures, it's about subtle, persistent alignment. As we head into our next section, we'll explore how to turn these powerful insights into actual practice, how to stop just looping through information and start truly living the shift, moment by moment. Are you ready to embody the timeline you've been trying so hard to chase? Alright, let's begin here, because really, the only practice that truly matters is the one you actually live. We're in an age where it's so easy to just consume knowledge, gather up techniques, binge-watch manifestation videos, and yet, never truly integrate any of it. Why? Because consuming feels like progress, but real progress only happens when your body, your breath, your actions start to genuinely match the information you've taken in. So, how do we bring this whole quantum shift into our daily lives? First, you have to understand the principle of microalignment. Most people think that shifting timelines requires these massive, dramatic, life-altering changes. But quantum reality actually responds to coherence, not necessarily to size. A small act, done with pure, aligned intention, can carry far more vibrational weight than some giant, frantic gesture that's born out of desperation. Let's break this down into simple, living examples. If you're shifting toward abundance, your practice might be as simple as breathing deeply whenever those scarcity thoughts arise, instead of spiraling into fear. It might be genuinely expressing gratitude for the small resources you already have, thereby amplifying the signal of, "I have enough." It could be spending money with presence and trust, rather than with panic or guilt. If you're shifting toward love, your practice might be consciously opening your posture when you feel the urge to shrink or hide. It might be reaching out with kindness instead of withdrawing in self-protection. It could be speaking words of affection, even if vulnerability feels a bit edgy for you. If you're shifting toward health, your practice might be tuning into the subtle sensations of vitality that are already present in your body. It might be choosing foods, movements, and rest with an energy of deep respect, not punishment. It could be catching that inner dialogue of criticism and consciously shifting it to one of support. These small acts are like quantum keys. They tell the field, "This is who I am now, not who I'm trying to become someday, but who I've decided to be today." But here's the part that most people often miss: the practice is not about achieving perfection. It's about returning. You will wobble. You will fall back into old loops. You will catch yourself thinking, feeling, or acting from that old timeline. This doesn't mean you've failed, it just means you're human, you're alive. The real power isn't in never slipping, the power is in how quickly you come back. Every time you notice yourself slipping into that old frequency and you gently guide yourself back, you strengthen the new timeline. Every time you pause, breathe, and choose coherence over chaos, you reinforce the shift. Every time you act as though the new reality is already true, even when the external world hasn't quite caught up yet, you are actively collapsing that wave. This is the beautiful dance of quantum embodiment. Now, let's talk briefly about tools. For some people, practices like breathwork, meditation, and visualization are incredibly helpful for tuning the system. For others, using sacred symbols, numbers like 369 or 777, or even specific sound frequencies feels powerful. These tools aren't magic tricks in themselves, they're more like anchoring devices. They help your subconscious mind receive the message that, "I am attuned to this new reality." But remember, no tool works without your embodied participation. You can't just outsource your shift to a ritual, the ritual works because you work with it. So, here's your invitation for today. Identify just one pattern from your old timeline that you're truly ready to disrupt. Then, choose one small, practical act that embodies the new timeline you're stepping into. And then, commit to practicing that act today, with presence, with sincerity, with love. It might be something as small as pausing for 3 conscious breaths before you react to something. It might be choosing to speak just one sentence from your desired self, not your fearful self. It might be sitting quietly for a few minutes and visualizing yourself surrounded by the frequency of your chosen reality. It's not so much about what you do, it's about how you do it. And the beauty of it is, the quantum field doesn't need a lot of time to catch up, it responds in the now. As you step into this practice, please remember you are not alone. You are part of a vast collective of beings who are awakening to their power, rediscovering their creative nature, and learning how to dance with this incredible field. And this channel, this space right here, is here to walk alongside you. So, before we head into the final part of this journey, the part where we explore how to truly sustain the shift and live consistently inside that new timeline, I invite you, if this video has stirred something within you, if you're feeling that pulse of possibility opening up inside, please hit subscribe. Stay close to this community, stay close to these conversations. And in the comments, share one small act you're committing to today, something that anchors you into your new timeline. It could be as simple as the word breathe, or trust, or open. Your word matters. Your act matters. Because you matter. So, here we are, at what feels like the final step of this particular journey together. You've traveled through the science, the energy, the subconscious layers, and the embodied practices. But now comes what might be the most important part, sustaining the shift. Because the quantum field doesn't just care if you visit the new timeline once in a while, it reshapes itself around you when you decide to live there. Most people approach manifestation like it's a single event. They visualize, they affirm, they journal, and then they kind of wait. And when results don't show up immediately, they often collapse right back into that old frequency, not realizing that the true magic, the true transformation, lies in staying. Sustainability is the master key of any lasting quantum shift. Now, let's be crystal clear, this doesn't mean forcing yourself to feel good all the time. This doesn't mean ignoring challenges or pretending you're high vibe when you're clearly not. What this means is developing the emotional and energetic capacity to return, again and again and again, to alignment. Every time you wobble and you consciously come back, you strengthen that new signal. Every time you notice an old loop pulling at you and you gently choose the new timeline instead, you reinforce the shift. Every time you act, speak, breathe, and choose as though you already live in your desired state, that old timeline begins to lose its grip. This isn't punishment, this is mastery. You are learning how to become the quantum signal that collapses the wave, not just occasionally, not only when it's convenient, but as a genuine way of life. Let me offer you a simple roadmap for this. First, daily awareness. Start your day not with your to-do list, but with a quick tuning session. Ask yourself, what frequency am I bringing into today? Am I carrying fear, or am I carrying trust? Am I expecting struggle, or am I open to flow? Set that intention even before your feet hit the ground. Second, embodied action. Throughout your day, practice those micro-alignments. Notice when your actions actually match your desired timeline and when they don't. If you want abundance, are you acting with generosity or from a place of scarcity? If you want love, are you opening your heart or are you armoring it? If you want health, are you nurturing your body or neglecting it? Small, repeated shifts matter far more than occasional big leaps. Third, emotional regulation. You will get triggered. You will fall into doubt. This is part of being human. The power lies not in avoiding these moments, but in how you return from them. Breathe, ground yourself, reconnect with that version of you who already knows, this is who I am now. Fourth, community and symbols. Surround yourself with reminders, symbols like numbers, mantras, or sacred images that help anchor you into coherence. Stay close to communities and voices that reinforce your chosen timeline. Let your external world become an ally, not a distraction. And finally, remember that gratitude is an incredible amplifier. Gratitude is the emotional signature of already having. When you practice gratitude, you signal to the quantum field, I am aligned. I am receptive. I am whole. This amplifies the coherence of your field and truly accelerates the collapse of your desired timeline. Remember, you're not doing all of this just to get somewhere, you're doing this because this is the somewhere. You are not chasing the timeline, you are becoming the timeline. I really want to thank you for walking this journey with me. You are not the same person who pressed play on this video. You are vibrating slightly differently now. You are carrying a new awareness, perhaps a new code, a new sense of possibility inside you. The real magic isn't in just remembering everything we've talked about, the real magic is in what you choose to do next. So here's my invitation to you, not a homework assignment, not a checklist, just a living, breathing invitation. In the next 24 hours, surprise yourself. Do one thing, just one tiny thing, that truly belongs to the version of you who is already living in your desired timeline. Maybe it's a choice you make, a gesture, a conversation you have, or even just a private shift inside your own mind or heart. It doesn't need to be big, it just needs to be real. And when you do it, know this, you are no longer waiting for change, you are being it. If this video has stirred something in you, I'd be honored if you'd subscribe. Not because you're just following another channel, but because you're stepping into a space where these kinds of awakenings are our baseline, where we intentionally keep raising the frequency together. Thank you for your presence, thank you for your energy, thank you for daring to become more of who you truly are. Keep going, keep choosing, keep surprising yourself. Because when you do, the quantum field always responds.